Well, Nintendo's E3 presentation was certainly something this year. Rest in peace the dream, holy shit Ridley, and man, that new Final Fantasy game sure looks pretty damn good.
That isn't Final Fantasy, you moron, it's Fire Emblem.
Well, you could have fooled me. As with the release of any game, speculation is abound, and of course with the reveal of Fire Emblem Three Houses, I am perfectly certain that this will be a strong new entry into the series. So today, as we break down the individual aspects of the trailer as we go through it, I'll be offering not only my general thoughts on the game from what we've seen so far, but also some of the nuggets and tidbits of information that you may have missed your first time watching the trailer. So without any further ado, let's get started. The trailer begins by panning out to a map of the continent that this game takes place on. Judging by the geography, this is likely an all-new continent that we've yet to see before. Obviously, I'm not going to try and translate the cursive for which these countries are named. I have a hard time reading them myself, and most likely the website for this game will update with the proper names of these countries, so I don't want to guess wrong and just look like an idiot down the line, so I'm not even going to bother. It is also likely, due to the family crests placed by each name of each country, that these are also the three titular houses. House being, of course, medieval jargon for a ruling family. We then begin to hear narration from our female lead, talking about the goddess over what seems to be paintings that mirror the Sistine Chapel in our own world. It also seems that this goddess is likely an entity we haven't seen before, though she does draw strong parallels to Naga, Milla, and Ashira. The trailer then switches gears and we launch into some gameplay. We can see the name of who I assume is our main lord here, Edelgard. I also assume that she is the same one who was speaking about the goddess in the scene just before, judging by how similar their voice actors are. The most interesting thing we get here, however, is a good look at the menu wheel. Up at the top we have attack normally. We then follow it by magic. This leads me to believe that I think a lot of character classes, if not all character classes, will have access to spells in this game. Additionally, it looks like combat arts are returning from Fire Emblem Echoes. Additionally, there seems to be a formation command. This could be a replacement for the support command, as we may see it in action later on in the trailer. After that we see equip, items, and wait, which are all standard fare for Fire Emblem as it is traditionally. After this, we see Edelgard Attack with, of all things, an axe as she strikes at a man named Mercedes. Jeremy Clarkson would be proud. Anyways, what's also interesting about this is how she seems to be followed by a bunch of generic soldier units. This was likely done as an aesthetic choice to make it look like we're actually fighting a war with actual soldiers rather than a small guerrilla warfare unit. I've seen a lot of mixed responses to this aesthetic, but personally I enjoy it. After this, we meet two other characters, Dimitri, a lancer, and Claude, an archer. After this, the trailer pans into another beautiful cutscene, as we see an army of cavaliers accompanied by a squadron of Pegasus Knights, likely confirming both classes' appearance in this game. It also confirms, based on the earlier cinematics as well, that Studio Kara, who did the cinematics for Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, will likely be returning for this game as well, as the aesthetic is incredibly similar. After this, we get to see what I believe is the formation command in action. As you can see, the player selects Edelgard at first, but then scrolls over to Byleth. More on him in a little bit here. As you can see, she then attacks with Byleth, and it appears that they get some sort of support bonus, so I think this formation command is likely either a replacement or an alternate way to get the support system going. The big surprise now is we pan around Byleth, who we saw attack in the formation segment a little earlier, as he falls under a castle before we get to see what looks like free roaming gameplay. Whether this confirms dungeons from Echoes are back in this game or not, I'm not sure, but it does mean that we will at least be able to explore this city in a free roaming nature. However, because it is Byleth and not Edelgard that we are controlling, that raises me a few questions about Byleth. At no point in the trailer do we see Byleth ever speak himself or hear him called out by name. Granted, we don't hear Edelgard, Claude, or Dimitri either, but Byleth is a weird outlier in the sense that the game seems to focus a lot on him, specifically as the character the player controls in the free roaming sections. which leads me to believe that Byleth is in fact our avatar character here. Though, before you get your pitchforks ready to storm intelligence systems, it looks like Edelgard is still very much our main character, with Byleth being what seems to be either her teacher, tactician, or perhaps even her sparring partner, as she refers to a teacher a lot in this trailer, and I'm willing to wager this is in fact Byleth. Byleth, however, also, if he isn't an avatar, he seems to have a cool design, and I hope his story regulation isn't too intrusive to Edelgard's arc. After some free roaming, we get to see what looks to be Edelgard and Byleth having a conversation in some sort of military barracks. Here we get a very good look at Edelgard's portrait. This is very clearly not Kozaki or Hidari, so that means this game has a brand new key artist. The style itself reminds me a lot of Persona, but I don't think it is the same key artist, although the style is very similar. Additionally, from here it looks like we will also be able to, using this barracks feature, be able to increase weapon ranks, or possibly even give our characters bonus EXP. We then launch into the tail end of the trailer as we see a character similar to the goddess before, possibly even the same character, probably even the same character if I'm being honest, clutching what looks to be a broken sword as her lips seem to sync up to the vocal track. Nice touch. We then see both Dimitri and an unnamed mage character attacking in tandem with their soldiers. This could also be what the formation command does, but this could also as well be the combat arts function, and we're just seeing it in action, as it looks like enemies too will also be accompanied by a small squadron. We then get a brief look at who I assume is our main villain, this old scarred man with this crazy whip sword chain fire thingy. That is very much a technical term. Trust me on this, I'm an expert. Anyways, I have my reservations about this guy, namely the fact that he seems very similar from the outset to King Garen, and as we know from Fates, King Garen was a disappointment and a half. So I really hope they do something interesting with this guy and make him more than just angry old power-hungry angry man. Also a technical term. Like I said, I'm an expert. He then appears to, using his whip sword chain thingy, thrash a bunch of soldiers away and basically devastate them entirely, meaning that whoever this guy is, whether he's quality written or not, he's going to pose a significant threat to our units on the battlefield. After this, we get some more general gameplay of Claude firing a bunch of arrows in a volley at a clockwork machine, followed by a critical attack from Byleth. Lastly, we get this beautifully framed shot of what looks to be a young girl sitting atop a stone throne, either asleep, dead, or something in between, as more of Edelgard's narration carries over top. And we finally get our release date window of spring 2019. Fuck. Alright, time to move into some general thoughts. Firstly, let's address the elephant in the room here, the delay. Now, I know for a fact that games get delayed for a myriad of reasons, and I'm sure this game is no different, but if I think I had to attribute it to one thing, which I really shouldn't, I think it has to do with the engine. Fire Emblem typically hasn't had the best start on new hardware in every instance. If you remember back in Awakening, none of the character models actually had feet. This was due to a programming issue where every time they tried to model feet on the character models, they would just clip through the ground, and this was something they weren't able to sort out for Awakening's original deadline, but did sort out in the engine later on with Fates and Echoes. And I think that's a similar thing here, is that the engine and the hardware might have been a little too much for Intelligent Systems' design team, and they may have needed just a bit more time to get this game off the ground. It's also quite possible that the game is just that huge that it needed the extra time in development. I also hope that with this delay, we can get a worldwide release, but I think that might be asking just a little too much. As for spring 2019 itself, I think judging by how the entire trailer was not only fully voice acted in English, but also all of the menus and everything else was also in English, I think it's a very safe bet that we can expect it in early spring of next year, quite possibly late March, or at the very least like April 7th or something at the most. Regardless, I want to speak a bit more generally about this game and what I think of going into it. Firstly, I love the aesthetic that they went for. Not only is Kara's cutscenes beautiful, but I think the new art style really complements it well and the colors really pop. As for Byleth possibly being an avatar, I think that is not only likely but probable. Hopefully, due to how the trailer was not only focusing a lot on Edelgard, but it seems like that there is a big push for Claude and Dimitri to be main characters as well, that Byleth will take a sideline role, and we will see more streamlined, strong characters take the forefront of the game, and we won't end up with a similar situation to what we had with Fates, where they had to basically write a character that everyone could identify with, hence they wrote a bland character, and put him in a situation where being bland really does not work. Quick little insert here. Recently, Fire Emblem Three Houses got a little bit of a blurb on the Nintendo Switch website. So I'm just going to read off some of the points here. Basically, we now know that the continent is called Foldlan, where the Church of Cyrus exercises great power. That's really cool, having a religious body as the villains here. That'll be really awesome to see, so maybe Garen 2.0 might not be as sort of cliche as we think he is. Additionally, it's confirmed here that the three main characters, Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude, play important roles in the story, but are apparently second only to your protagonist, which basically confirms that Byleth is in fact an avatar. Please, dear God, let him be not that relevant. Just make him secondary to these three, I beg of you. Regardless, I have decently high hopes for the story of this game. I'm not expecting a masterpiece. I'm not expecting Sacred Stones or genealogy here. I'm expecting something hopefully on par with what Echoes gave to us. And I do have a big worry about the villain, and that is I don't think at the moment he has really thing other than a really cool personal weapon to set him apart from the other Fire Emblem villains that we've already had. I think a big reason why people gravitate towards villains like Berkut and Leon is the fact that they are so different from old angry king who's power hungry. Regardless, I am, however, excited to see what they do with them. Obviously, since he's getting a lot of showing in this trailer in terms of what he can do on the battlefield, he'll likely be taking a much more active role in the story than Garen ever did, which is a really good sign, as the last time we had a crazy Fire Emblem King villain who did something similar to that, we had Zephiel, and Zephiel is top tier among Fire Emblem villains. But that being said, as this character isn't even named yet, I don't think we should get our hopes up too soon and put all our eggs in one basket. Other than that, the character designs all look really good. The official art has already kind of been posted and coming out, so I will put up examples of such on screen at the moment. Edelgard is very clearly going to be this game's sort of top-tier waifu. I assume that people are going to latch onto her in much the same way that people have latched onto Lynn, Lucina, and Celica before her. Hopefully she's more like Celica and Lynn and Lucina than she is Micaiah, who was sort of our last white-haired female lord, who a lot of people really don't like. I'm one of them, and she does bring something interesting to the table. I do like the way that her black and reds complement each other. Her design reminds me a lot of Sirius's design from Fire Emblem 3, which is really interesting, to be honest. As for who that girl is at the end of the trailer, I'm quite certain it is either some sort of incarnation of the goddess, possibly a new version of her, perhaps almost a phoenix rising from the ashes. She's reborn and regrows into an adult state every several hundred years or something. But she could also very well just be this game's Manakete, similar to Tiki in terms of story relevance in this game, and hopefully that would be what she is. But of course, none of that matters.
Because durability is back, baby! We got it! We got it good! Durability's back! Silver weapons ain't gonna be trash no more! This is good!
Well, I think that's about it in terms of both my impressions on Three Houses and the trailer breakdown. I'm sure that we are all excited for this game in some way or another, so I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Perhaps not only about Three Heroes, but also your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct in general. Personally, I think that new Armored Core style game, Daemon X Machina, looks really cool, and I can't wait to see more of that game in action. I am, of course, disappointed that Lyn was relegated back to an assist trophy, but I think it's better this way, as there seems to be somehow this giant vocal minority that hates Lyn who's propped up all of a sudden. So I guess they're happy. I'm not, but oh well. Regardless, Three Houses looks amazing. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. If you enjoy this type of video, also let me know down in the comments. I will do more of it in the future as we get more trailers for Three Heroes and we get more information. As for everything else, please go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share. As always, no matter what games you like to play, my name is ZerkMonsterHunter, and happy hunting.